Hello, listeners, and welcome back to our nostalgic or problematic series where we are rewatching Dawson's Creek. And today we are on season 1, episode 7, titled Detention.
Yes, dun, dun, dun.
Here's the summary. The brewing conflicts among Dawson and his friends erupt during their detention. But we have another special guest. We have decided, well, I'll say Katie has decided because it's her idea to begin with, that every time we have a special guest and we are doing a Dawson's recording after, we make them watch the episode, even if they've never seen the show, because Carlos had never seen it and Jen has never seen it, and she's here.
And she's here. So, yeah, she was just
I started watching it. I didn't even know who these people were. It was until halfway through the episode that I figured out whose name was what.
I feel like that's almost better in a way because you and I are just like, oh, and so. And so it's kind of funny when people are like, who is this person?
Like,
and why does this person act like that? So, yeah, that was pretty great. So, Jen, when Dani and I kind of talk about these shows and review these shows, if you will, from a nostalgic or problematic lens, we have different rankings. So Dani's are smiley faces and frowny faces. Mine are hearts and X's. So did you come up with a scoring system of your own?
I kind of did check marks and X's, but like I said, I wrote a few things down at the beginning of the episode and then kind of got absorbed. And then the episode ended and I went, oh, I didn't write anything else down.
That's okay, though, because we're going to talk about stuff.
Too.
And you might be like, oh, yeah, I liked that too, or whatever. So that's totally cool. Awesome.
I always have opinions. I'll jump in.
There you go. That's why you wanted to hear.
That's why we're here.
Well, do you want to go first, Dani?
Yeah. My first smiley face happened in the very first second.
I know
of
what
the
you're going to
show.
say, because I bet it's mine, too.
What is it?
E.T.
Yes!
E.T. Stuffy. As soon as I saw that, I was like, Dani's writing this down too. So there's an E.T. stuffed animal between Dawson and Joey on Dawson's bed, which is where all these episodes start. It's so aggravating as they're watching.
Y'all, I didn't even notice that.
Oh, yes. Yeah. And then Joey references it.
I did write down, being a mental health professional, I thought the line that he said, when movies get too unrealistic, it depresses me, was hysterical.
It's hilarious.
And then when she said, your favorite movie is E.T.
I know. I know.
That was so good.
Katie,
so good.
Since Katie is a writer, she always writes down lines too, because there is some really good writing in this show.
There's some great
There's
writing
some problematic crap. Don't be doubtful.
Worry.
It is the 90s. So
yeah.
But I loved that E.T. because he's a Steven Spielberg super fan. Okay, so
Dawson is.
Yeah, Dawson in the show.
Yeah.
My favorite thing though about that scene, this goes with the E.T., and then you could tell me yours, was where Joey totally schooled Dawson on the hypocrisy of sexual attraction, because she was like, oh, well, it's fine for guys to be attracted to superficial stuff like big boobs and blonde hair, but if girls are, you just can't comprehend that girls might be attracted to superficial things and guys too, Dawson. And he's like, no, romance. And she's like, okay.
That was really good.
I know.
That was really well written.
Because it's you can't think that just it can go both ways, dude. Yeah,
exactly. Both the superficial and non-superficial. And as just an added heart that I had, and I thought it several times as the episode went on, Dawson was extra cute in this episode.
Oh my God, I thought the exact opposite.
What?
Okay, we'll get there.
I was like, he's looking so great. Yeah, his hair, and then later when
I thought he looked ridiculous the whole time.
When he's playing basketball later and his hair's all
such
sweaty.
A whim.
Oh no, he looked amazing. What are you talking about? Okay, fine, whatever.
Okay, so our listeners know this, Jen, but you don't. She is a Dawson fan. I am a Pacey fan.
So we know, and immediately, the first thing I wrote on my X's was, I hate Pacey.
Thank you.
He was such a jerk.
Oh, well, this episode was a little...
He was kind of a jerk this episode.
I felt not to jump ahead to frowny faces, there was a lot of toxic straight male bullshit in this show, in this episode.
Yeah.
A lot.
So I was like, I would have hit him in the face with a basketball too.
I know. But also that, was not.
But also that,
I felt like there was just so much toxic masculinity, straight male, stupid crap.
Yeah. There was a lot of it in this one.
Yeah. Anyway.
What else do you have for happy things? I know you got engrossed but we usually do
pretty
all
much
our
nothing.
And then great. We're just going to toggle through ours then, and you just give us your opinion.
She said pretty much zero, everyone.
I did write down that I thought the line bigger joystick was hysterical.
Sometimes they like a faster car. Sometimes they like a bigger joystick.
That was so funny.
Bigger joystick, Joey.
Oh,
yeah, that was so good.
Oh my God.
That was
Okay.
so good.
The other line that I thought was funny was when she says that something about all guys like girls with blonde hair, big boobs, and skinny arms. And then he was like, Jen doesn't have
yeah.
skinny arms.
I know.
That was really good. That was really
she
good.
does. So whatever.
Yeah, and she does. She does. Okay, so one of my other lines that I really liked, I have a lot of lines that I liked from this episode, was in the locker room when early on when Pacey and Dawson are like, Dawson's kind of like agitated with Pacey, and he said something about talking trash, and Pacey says, because he says, you were talking trash about me, that whole Oompa Loompa thing. And then Pacey goes, I don't talk trash. I recycle it.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was so good. I was like, yes. And I don't know, when you think of like recycling in that context, you know, like the recycle, reuse, repurpose, like the whole phrasing then.
I love that.
And then also when Jen's talking about euthanasia.
Oh, yeah.
And she says,
yes.
sometimes life's not great. Sometimes life's a bitch.
Yes. And she got detention.
So I actually put that whole euthanasia discussion as a X because because I totally was not down with the teacher with the religious like
right. I had that as
in
a
the
frowny
classroom, and I was just like, "What is happening?"
But I think that was supposed to be cringy. Like I think it was supposed to be
cringy
like,
for
what
sure.
the fuck are you doing, dude? Oh, sorry. I have been really bad. Usually, I'm really good about not
it's
cursing on here.
It was
In the
kind of a
past
mumble.
few episodes,
It was a mumble. It was a mumble.
I was like, what?
I know.
It's fine.
Whatever,
It's
it's fine.
Freak.
Forget it.
But-
Spotify won't hear us.
Okay, so I also didn't like that. But you know what? Like that was supposed to be cringy. It was supposed to be. You
I think you were supposed to be on Jen's side.
Yeah.
I think it was supposed to be like, this guy's a jerk.
And you're not
she's
supposed to bring
right.
religion of any kind into the classroom in a public school.
Right,
So,
right.
Okay, so happy face for me.
Yeah.
I was so excited because this is the episode that Abby comes in. Bitchy Abby.
Yeah.
She is legit.
The only thing I could think is she's so pretty.
She is pretty, but she is like
Gorgeous.
legit awful every episode. And she was like such a fun villain to have. I was like, oh, this is it. This is where she comes in.
Yeah.
And I was and did you see her white eyeshadow? Thank you very much.
Yes,
Thank
for sure.
you, white eyeshadow and the dark lip.
Yep.
Totally rocked that. Yep.
Yeah, she was really, really, I agree. Like, I thought she was really pretty.
Who the hell does detention on a Saturday?
Oh, my school had
I
Saturday
think
detention.
it used
Really?
to be
Yeah.
that way. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I've
if
never
they
heard
still
of that
do.
and
in
it was
my
9
life.
to 5. Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah, I know.
I feel like nowadays you probably couldn't get away with
I don't think you can anymore. I mean, like we had Saturday detentions. It was for the really bad. So like the way detentions went in my school was you had after school detention. Sometimes you had before school detention. Then you had Saturday detention. And then you had like in school suspension. And then suspension and expulsion. Like that's how the categories went.
Yeah.
Ask me why I know.
Like there were different levels of
I
getting
had
in
detention
trouble.
for like tardies was like the biggest thing for us. Like, so if you got to like a certain number of tardies, you had a before school or after school detention. And then if you had like more, like she had excessive tardies, Abby, then you had to go on Saturday. Like, you know, it was like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if I like Abby's character. She's too
you're
much.
supposed to hate her, but that's why I liked her. 'Cause she was so just extra and awful.
But it's not even like, oh, I hate her. It's like it's just a lot. It's
Yeah, I
tedious as a
wasn't-
watcher.
I wasn't sure if I really liked her acting, honestly.
Yeah,
because it
it
seemed
was-
forced almost.
But
to
maybe
me.
but maybe when she comes back, I'll settle into
no,
that.
if you don't like her now, you ain't gonna
But
like her.
I was just, I mean, I know you're not supposed to like
right.
her.
I
But
mean, if
like
you didn't-
also as a watcher, I was just like, oh God, when is she like not on screen? Because I'm like over her. Where's Dawson? He looks so good in this episode. Bring him back.
She does have some really great one-liners every
does.
episode she's
She
in.
does.
I'll just tell you that now. Like
That's
and
fair.
I'm not going to ruin anything, but the way she gets off the show is actually really awful.
Really?
She's here for a while. She's here
Okay.
for a few
Okay.
seasons. But
I'll keep an open mind about her character.
no, you don't have to. She's bad. It's fine. Anyway, what was your next?
I had a few I said the basketball scene where they're like playing. This is funny. I said it had Mighty Ducks vibes,
And then they had the shout out.
and then they reference Mighty Ducks later. which Joshua Jackson was in.
Yes.
When he's like, oh, Amelia. But also, was this episode supposed to be an homage to the Breakfast Club?
Yes, which is
Okay.
And they referenced it.
They did.
They referenced it, but I was like, okay, so are they just like literally referencing? But then they were literally doing some of the exact
they had
same
some of the same
moves
music.
and same music. So I was like, okay, so they really are like leaning into this.
Yes.
I liked that.
I am a huge Breakfast Club fan. It was my number one favorite movie for the longest. I've tried to rewatch it now and I almost can't because it is so problematic.
Yeah.
But erasing all the problematic things, I love that movie. And I remember when this Dawson's episode came out, I loved it because it was such a shout out to the Breakfast Club. But they say in the episode, like, that movie sucked. And I'm like, and that's when they say the Emilio Estevez line.
Yes.
And then
like,
Joshua
I don't
Jackson's
know. They're like, none of them ever went on to do anything. Well, I don't know. That Emilio Estevez guy was in those Ducks movies.
And they were hilarious. And they were all like, it was
and they just
really
kind of look
cute.
at him. That was really cute. What else do you have for happies?
Well, I had that. The Breakfast Club Detention vibes. Like, I love that. Okay. And I know this is actually super terrible. We just recorded an episode about how, like, nicknames are not nice and blah, blah, blah. But I'm sorry. When he called him Oompa Loompa, I was cracking up because then I couldn't stop seeing it. Like,
then you're like,
sorry, James Vanderbeek.
Yeah.
Like, but I was just cackling. I'm like, that is so funny. And like, but then, I mean, I do feel, then it's a frowny too, because like it really was a nickname Dawson hated. It like made him feel really bad about himself.
Yeah.
And his best friend was like, haha, it's funny. It's not that big of a deal. And I hate that when you tell somebody that something is a big deal to you and they try and gaslight you and tell you it's not. And you're like, well, maybe it's not to you, but it hurts me. So stop it.
Agree.
So that was a happy and then a frowny.
Pacey's like attitude toward that in this episode was not the best.
But the actual nickname did make me laugh. Sorry.
It was a little funny. I put Joey's sweater in the detention scene. That yellow sweater with the diamond. I loved that.
We do be loving the fashion on this show.
We do be loving 90s. It was so cute. And also I loved the stereotypical librarian.
I know.
Like, I was like, really? Like,
she actually reminded me of my high school English teacher.
So maybe it was right
all I could think of when I saw her. I was like,
and how she was watching Days of Our Lives. And before they even said it was Days of Our Lives, I knew it was Days of Our Lives because it was like Bo and Hope and Sammy.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, she's watching Days of Our Lives. And then later they were like, oh, okay, well, she's taped X number of episodes of Days of Our Lives. I was like, yes, I knew it.
Which my mom used to record all my children. That was her soap because she was a nurse. So she would tape it and then like sit there and watch. And my grandma was a Young and the Restless. Like that's what, but anyways. Okay. Happy face. Where was I? Can we just talk about how Joey absolutely schooled those dumb jerk jocks?
Oh my God, that was the best.
That was good.
Man, I gotta say, we all knew guys like that in high school, right? I don't care where you live. I could still see them in my brain. I know their names. That's what you wanted to do to those fools. And she just did not care. She had no fear of them. She didn't care what they thought of her. She was like, I am done with you. I'm going to put your lunch in your face. I'm going to punch you.
Yeah. That was true. It was true.
That was so great. I just loved it.
Yeah, that was really good. I also saw a little reference to our candy episode in the library scene. Did you see it?
Skittles? We didn't talk about Skittles. No, what was it?
Abby's gum was juicy fruit.
Juicy fruit. Yes. Yeah.
And I was like, gross, but yay!
And she was like, do you want a piece? I'm like, yeah, sure. She's like, no.
Yeah, that was really, really good. And then she was talking about, Abby was talking to Joey about the jerk that Joey threw his lunch and punched him, Grant, whatever. And Abby says, Grant is a total fox. And I was like, wow. That is such a time capsule. I feel like even for like the late 90s, I don't remember ever using that phrase. No. That feels even older than that.
No, I think the old white man wrote that line.
It made me giggle.
Fairly certain.
He's like, I wish someone would call me this.
Yeah, right?
She's going to say he's a fox. Yeah, I thought that was really funny. What else?
Okay, so when they were playing Truth or Dare at the library, that was like such a teen memory of playing Truth or Dare because kissing was always involved in some way, shape, or form.
Oh, of course.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't even care. Like, even if something stupid like, go kiss the wall. Like, I don't know.
Seriously.
Right? Y'all laughing because I'm right.
Go lick that.
Yes.
Yeah,
Kissing was always involved. So I remember watching that scene. I was like, of course they're all going to end up kissing each other. Like, it's going to totally happen. But so that just made me laugh. But then it was also a frowny face because I'm like, why, if you're dating someone, be okay with being like, oh, yeah, sure, just go ahead and kiss this other person. Like, it was weird, especially as teenagers because we were not evolved to be okay with polyamorous.
And I had a good
situations.
laugh. So they have the part where Pacey and Jen kiss, and it's like awkward and weird.
Yes.
But then when Joey and Dawson kiss, the music swells. It's like,
and they're all like into it too. If it was a dare, you'd be like just like touching lips and like staying still.
Correct.
And these two are like blah, blah, blah,
like they were not feeling awkward at all, which would not happen.
Would not. No. Even if like then that's what the show's hinting at, right? Like there's these underlying romantic feelings between them. But even if that were the case, they wouldn't. They would have still been awkward,
even
in front of all those other people. Obviously,
right? Yeah, it would have been even more awkward, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you're super into
what's
it.
going to happen because I actually do like care about this person that way or whatever. Yeah, but I had a good laugh. The music started, and I was just like, I just started cracking up. I also put that there was a Wilt Chamberlain reference.
Yes.
About basketball. He's like, you're out there being Wilt Chamberlain. And I was like, wow, of like all the names, like you could have said Michael Jordan. Like, what? Who wrote that? Like, I just thought that was like really, really funny.
Strikes again.
Those are mainly my my hearts.
Oh, I have one
mostly.
more.
Okay, let's hear them.
Because it was just, I mean, it's not really a heart or a smiley or whatever. It was just funny to me, but also gross. Was Pacey's reason for detention. Y'all,
that story.
I forgot that that's why he was there. Like, because I've recently rewatched this. It was like my third time watching it. And I was like, oh, I forgot. And I'm like, that's really funny, but also gross because whatever. We've talked about how gross it is to do anything in the bathroom at school.
Yeah. Let alone
that.
But I was just dying. And then he like tells people. I would never tell
I would have made something else up. And also like,
especially in front of Abby, who was not like, you better swear. Like, do you really think she's going to keep that secret?
Yeah. She said she had an orgy for being
and she's over in the corner crossing her fingers.
Yeah, they have that like frame and she's like, and I was like, come on. But like, I also obviously like I think it was on purpose. You knew her story wasn't true when she was telling it because I'm like, well, where are all these guys she had an orgy with? Why would
just her?
Why would it just be her?
I know
you're the only one that is like in detention for this. But yeah, I thought that was funny. What else do you have?
That's all my smiles.
Okay.
But can we just stop for a second? And that's something I didn't write down. I am so glad I didn't have to write anything about the damn teacher on this episode.
You came in at
such
a good time.
A lot.
Every episode.
Well, I feel like I need to go back and watch them now and like keep up.
And then listen to like what we've said about it after you watch them.
So interestingly enough, I have listened to all of your Dawson's episodes.
Oh, have you?
Yes.
So she knows.
Like, I'm a true Generations fan. I listen to everything, even if I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Hilarious. Well, thank you for your support.
Thank you for that. We appreciate you. Well, then you should go back and watch some of those then.
Yeah.
Especially
so
if
you already know what we're going to say. We don't have to talk about the teacher this episode.
No, we don't have to. She's gone for now.
And now that I know who Pacey is, I kind of need to go back and figure out this whole thing that I've been listening to you guys talk about.
Yes,
so.
You do.
Yes. All right. What's your first brownie? I already said one of mine, which was the toxic masculinity.
Well, what do you have, Jen?
Yeah, Jen has a lot.
Oh, now that we've already kind of talked about all of my things that I said. The euthanasia discussion made me angry.
Yeah.
That's it. I really didn't like, so obviously like it being my very first introduction to the characters. I literally, my only thought was like, why is Dawson friends with this idiot? Like, I'm like,
you have no context.
I
guess
context.
As someone who I also had a nickname as a child that I did not like.
Same, me too.
That only my family would call me, and like I was mortified if they used it in front of my friends. I would get really upset.
Yeah.
And I guess I kind of immediately identified with Dawson being upset about that.
Oh, yeah.
And then I was like, this guy's supposed to be his friend. Like, you're being a jerk.
Yeah.
Like, that's why I said I would have hit him in the face too. But
and I guess like the bigger context, right, is that Pacey obviously is dealing with trauma that he's trying to kind of
right. And I don't know any of that coming into this episode.
And
so
then also like Dawson's already self-conscious about being a virgin. Too self-conscious about it, in my opinion. But it is a huge like plot point of this whole season, at least. And so like they're both coming at it from that way. But yeah, I would also be like, why do you even hang around that guy? He's a total jerk to you. You know?
Well, speaking of that, one of my frowns was Dawson whining the whole episode about Jen not sleeping with him. Like, I want to feel wanted.
And then the part where he's like, I want you to want me.
I know. I'm like, child. And then Joey's listening to all this and she's like, hi, I do. Like,
and
he seems so clueless to that.
I know.
He's like, what is it, Joey? You can tell me. I'm like, do you really not know what it is?
Exactly. Do you really not know what's happening here? Everybody else in the room knows what's happening here. Are you really that dumb?
I couldn't stand that. Like, Dawson's whining gets on my nerves every episode, but this made me super irritated. Because then that's also like, let's make Jen feel bad because she's not acting the way sexually that you want her to. So
right. That's like, gross. That's gross.
Just shut up, Dawson.
Yeah. I didn't like that either. And I wrote down, like, I just felt really uncomfortable with the kissing scenes, too. I'm either way on it. Like, the more I thought about it, the more I was like, I guess it's realistic because, like you said, those are the games, like, people play. And it's developmentally where people are. But this whole thing, like, several episodes ago, Pacey kisses Jen for a film that they're making without consent. Like pulls her in, kisses her, and it's supposed to be funny. And it really bothered me. Yeah. So I was like, that's not funny. And it's written funny, and it's written to not be a big deal. Like, why is everyone being a prude? And this kind of took me back to that for a second. Yeah. But then I was like, no one's forcing anyone to kiss them.
I mean.
But it still just made me feel kind of icky.
Yeah,
like that you would, like, feel like in like an intimate touching moment.
Definitely
like
some
that.
Peer pressure in that situation.
Sure,
too.
But again, that's realistic because
right. For sure.
For stuff. So it wasn't really an X, but it was just like, why do I feel so like uncomfortable about this? But it could be just because of like other ways they've presented it in the past.
Yeah.
Then I didn't like the lesbian insult.
Oh God, I wrote that too.
Obviously I did not.
Okay, so
let's talk about that.
Yeah, let's talk about that because I wrote what I wrote. Can we please just have one damn episode without gay as a negative connotation, please?
Well, the thing that I honestly, can kind of laugh at is the fact that she came back with, I wish I was a lesbian.
Well, that I loved.
And I was like, that. Girl, it ain't easier. Trust me.
For those that don't know, Jen
it's probably
is
harder.
We should probably say that.
Yeah, Jen is. Married to a woman.
We should probably say that. Yes, Jen is a lesbian. She is speaking from her experience.
From personal experience.
Yeah, like,
and I am a late in life lesbian, by the way, too. So I did not come out until I was 32, and I have been married to 2 men. So
hey, my sister came out late in life too. She had more than 2 men. But yeah,
I have the perspective to know it's like to date men and to deal with men and to date and deal with women. And I will tell you, hands down, women are not easier.
It's not an easier route. But
that's good to hear because I say all the time, like when people are, I'm like, I wish I was gay because straight men are so difficult.
Yeah.
But not easier. Okay. Well,
I
mean, I'm straight.
There
are
pros and cons, I guess, but
not easier, just different.
But we don't get
exactly. Yes, not easier, just different.
Just different. And we don't get to choose, unfortunately.
Yeah, we don't. And
in my case.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. I love you, honey. You're the best.
You're the best, Troy.
I'm just talking about generically as a group, straight men are very difficult to be in a relationship with.
Wow.
Do you agree? They are. I don't care. Come at me, straight men. We don't have many that listen to us.
Troy might be the only one.
I know.
So there you go.
But he knows I say that.
No, I mean, yeah, it's difficult. And in Joey's case, I can see how she would, because she's just so frustrated with everything.
Well,
when she was like, I wish I was. Well, she probably meant it because
she's in love with Dawson, who's the most annoying straight man in the world.
In the world, for real.
Well, I'm sure she meant it in that instance as like, I wouldn't have these feelings for Dawson if I were, and that would be easier because it is difficult to feel what I'm feeling given the situation.
But like Abby was definitely trying to be a jerk, and I don't like that. And I feel like, I mean, it's constant. Like in every episode, we are speaking on this.
True.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm sure you all remember, like in our high school days, "That's so gay" was like such a just normal part of the slang vernacular. I mean, I used it myself, like, right?
Sure.
And and you just, and I think that there are certain terms that become a part of our slang that almost lose that true meaning to what they like.
Yeah.
You almost forget how offensive it is.
Oh, yeah.
And because it just becomes such a part of...
and you don't mean it offensive. But then once you think about it, you're like, oh, okay, I'm not going to say that anymore. Or phrase things that way. There's a podcast I listen to that I absolutely love. You could
probably do a whole episode on problematic slang from the 90s because there's a lot of it.
There's so much of it.
There's a podcast I listen to and I love the people on it, but the woman will often, when she gets something wrong, she'll be like, "Sorry guys, it's my Alzheimer's," or "That was my dementia." And I'm just like, why?
Oh, yeah.
Are we joking about that?
It's not funny.
You know, like to the point I have not, and I don't think they listen to this one. If they do, I hope you do kind of hear it because I love you. But like that to me is like, that's like taking something that's real to people and making it like a joke or an insult to herself.
And I will say another one that I find problematic that a lot of people still use, being in the profession that I am in, which if none of you listeners know, I'm a psychiatric nurse practitioner. So I deal with mental health every day. And I hate it when people say, "Oh, that's just my OCD."
Oh yeah,
because
when they don't
OCD is one of
legit,
like a legit OCD is one of the most debilitating and difficult things to actually live with, and it is also very difficult to treat. And people think just because you have, you know, you want to be organized or you're super type A that you have OCD, and you really have no idea what that actual, you know, illness really is. So things like that, and you know, people who say that don't mean any ill intent against people who struggle. It's just they don't understand how they're diminishing what people are actually going through.
Totally. Yeah. Which again doesn't make it okay for this show or for whatever, but it's context, right?
Well,
like
and evolution, I think too. Like I think when we go back, which is why we do this, why we rewatch stuff and talk about it. Like what is nostalgic, but what is problematic? What have we learned from this, and what are we doing better as a culture, as an entertainment industry? Which I feel like, in this sense, what we're talking about now has improved greatly. It's not perfect.
I do. I think we've come a really long way, especially if you look at shows like Grey's Anatomy, which consistently shows, you know, both heterosexual and homosexual relationships as if they are normal. So, you know, I think there are a lot of progressive stuff out there. You know, I think as a society, we're always going to be learning and evolving, and we'll always have a long way to go to get to equality, but at least
100%.
And I think Grey's Anatomy,
trying to make progress.
Grey's Anatomy is a great example because it's been on so long,
right?
That if you were to watch the beginning, which one of my daughters and I have been watching, like season 1, you might notice some problematic things. And that first season is everyone. Well, I guess there are some people of color, but like all the like main relationships that you care about are white cisgender relationships.
Yeah.
And so, and then if you compare it to like a current season, you would see, they have actively tried to change the way these things are presented.
And I don't know if you've ever watched Station 19, which was the spinoff of Grey's Anatomy. You know, they specifically too, you know, it's not, it would not be considered normal to see a gay firefighter, right? Like, so the fact that they portrayed that as just a normal thing, I think is a big deal. You know, it's showing that at least, of course, I think, you know, when you look at the arts and you look at entertainment, it's always a little more culturally progressive than the rest of the actual
world.
But
the world we walk around in, especially in Florida. But that's another day, another episode.
Oh yeah, we don't want to go down that rabbit hole.
Nah, we're talking Dawson's Creek, 1997.
97. So the only other like thing I had on the whole episode, the negative, and we kind of already touched on it, is that whole, I said, this is what I wrote: whole sex interaction in library, so cheesy, awkward. Just like when not they're not actually having sex, but when they're talking about it, I whispered because I do have a voice student out there. I do have an 11-year-old singing. So I like the part where he's like, I just want to be wanted. And then Joey's like crying and she's like, well, I want you. I was
awkward.
like, this is too much.
So awkward.
Way too much.
Yeah.
And I was so happy when the librarian showed up and was like, you're done. I was like, ooh, get them out of there, you know?
Yeah.
It was just like for how good the writing and storytelling really is in this show. I just thought that
was
part
icky.
was
I don't know if that was realistic. Like if that actually would have happened.
It definitely was not, but it was also just weird. It was just
like I feel
weird.
like Joey just would have shut down and walked away.
Oh yeah.
And been like, I'm not going to talk about it. Like she wouldn't have been like pouring her soul out in front of all those people.
Totally.
And she's like saying everything, but she's like, I can't say it. I'm like, bitch, you just did. Like,
Wait, we can read between the lines.
Like that was bad writing. I was like, she just literally said everything
It's
except
bad writing. I didn't like
Dawson.
it.
Like,
yeah, right.
No.
And does anyone else feel like the only person that truly gets it is Jen?
Yeah.
Like she understands. She sees it all. Yeah. And Dawson's like, meh. And Joey's like, eh. And Pacey's like, huh? And like, and even Abby's like, oh, this is entertaining, but I don't know what's happening. But Jen's got that like knowing look on her face. But anyway, well, thank you to our Jen.
Yay, Jen. Thanks for being a good sport with that.
For doing this. And yeah, maybe you should go back and watch a few just to kind of get up to speed. And if you haven't listened to our super fan Reba episode with Jen as our guest, make sure you listen to that. And all of our episodes, Dawson's Creek and otherwise. And we'll see you next time here on Generation in Between. Bye, everybody.
Bye.